everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today I am here with a viewer request actually. When I put out the call for what sort of Victober content you would like to see here, someone asked, what are your favorite Victorian characters? Who of all the Victorian characters you've read have stuck with you the most? So I'm going to be talking about that one today. For those of you who asked for Victorian cooking, I am so sorry, but that just isn't going to happen this month. But I will bear that in mind for next Victober, so be on the lookout for that. In terms of specific favorite characters, I was really hard pressed to think of any one particular favorite from a variety of novels. But I could think of novels where the characters were just so well drawn that I found the experience of reading them really enchanting, whether or not I actually liked those characters, though in most cases I think I did. And the first example I could think of for that was Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. This was an incredible reading experience. I had already watched the miniseries that came out, I think, my final year of high school, and I actually read it in 2013, so it was a few years later. And I find that with Dickens, especially towards the beginning of my Dickens reading experience, that really helped, especially in such massive books where he has multiple plot lines going at the same time. Having faces to put with names really helped. But the thing that stuck out with me most was his characterization, especially of Mr. Dorrit. And I'm going to try to find a passage. I don't know how successful I'm going to be. There we are. So if we look down at the bottom of the page, I thought all these ums and ahs were things that Tom Courtenay added in to play Mr. Dorrit. But no, if you look just there, just in this section, and down here in this section as well, Dickens actually wrote them in. And I had read Dickens before, but this was the first time when it really occurred to me how much of a screenwriter he really was, without obviously knowing what a screenwriter was. Really, he would have been fantastic at writing for television. His books adapt themselves so well for television. He always has an actor's eye as to how a character would sound and is able to convey that so well, whether it's dialect or spoken tics or habits. It's really incredible, and that has always stuck with me ever since I realized that. Another adaptation-inspired read that I had around the same time was North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. And again, I think a lot of Gaskell's characterization is really vivid and really well done, but North and South has always stuck out to me most. Obviously, Mr. Thornton is one of my favorite literary heroes. I mean, the fact that he's played by Richard Armitage certainly doesn't hurt, but I love it. In fact, I have a t-shirt with John Thornton on it now, but it is far too cold to wear that today, so you will get to see that in the warmer months. But this, again, was such an incredible novel to read, and I think that's one of the reasons why the adaptation stands up as well as it does, is that they didn't have to change very much at all. This was very easily adaptable. All of the characters are just so clear and instantly recognizable and really very real. And that just pulls you in immediately and makes you care so much about all of their situations, which then makes the social justice element really hit home. And I just think it's really masterful. And if you haven't read it yet, go forth and read it. Similarly, I think Thomas Hardy has a wonderful flair for characterization, especially in books like Far From the Madding Crowd, where not only is Bathsheba so realistically complicated, and you can so easily understand Boldwood's frustration and Gabriel Oak's stance on things. You know exactly where everyone is coming from. Even Sergeant Troy is very much a realistic person, But I love that that carries through right down to the smaller characters, like the sort of Greek chorus of country workers that we meet and that are constantly surrounding us. In this case, farmhands and shepherds. They're just so cute and so sweet, and once again, very, very real. I'm also thinking of Under the Greenwood Tree, which starts out with a whole sequence of a choir singing under someone's window, and all of the bickering and arguing that goes on before we start. I laughed out loud reading it and took a picture of the pages and sent them to my choir director because we had had moments like that. So Hardy is another one who I think has an incredible skill at drawing really vivid characters. And lastly, we can't go anywhere without talking about Anthony Trollope, who, it has been said, and I completely agree with them, that he has the most Jane Austen-like grasp of character. It's really remarkable how much his plots are very similar to Austen and yet are wildly different. They have a similar coziness factor, it's all very much slice of life, and yet you are deeply invested in what is going to happen to these characters, and the stakes feel enormous. And you love every single character, even if you hate them simultaneously and can't stand them. You are still shocked when something horrible happens to them, and I just adore it so much. So you can definitely see that in his series, like the Barsetshire series. I'm getting very much a similar feeling from the Palliser series, but I haven't finished it yet. But in addition, The Way We Live Now, I think, is the next best example of how amazingly he draws his characters. Sir Felix is a prime example of a character that is just frustrating and obnoxious, but you have such a clear idea of what he's like, of what sorts of choices he's going to make, of what he's going to sound like. And that carries through to all the rest of the characters, such that when I tried to watch the adaptation, and my mother and I had both read this, we both felt that no, this isn't quite right. These characterizations aren't quite matching what Trollope wrote, even though the cast was incredibly talented. It was a stacked cast of David Suchet as Melmont, a young Matthew Macfadyen as Sir Felix, a very young Cillian Murphy as Paul, Shirley Henderson as Miss Melmotte. It just kept getting better and better in terms of the actors that they were choosing, but something about it just wasn't quite right because he had drawn them so vividly here. So there you have some of my prime examples of amazingly detailed characterization in Victorian novels. Let me know down below if you would add any others to this list, and I'll see if I agree or if I just have yet to read that particular novel. If you have more questions about any of these novels as well, also let me know down below and I will happily answer. Until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.